Hello and welcome to this Friday's episode of Sports Corner. This time period in sports is one of the slower parts of the year, but there are still some major stories to cover, so I'll get right to it. After only a very short amount of time laying dormant, the NFL is back atop the headlines. The free agency period doesn't officially begin until next week, but already some big-name players have made waves throughout the league. First, on Saturday night, it was announced that San Francisco 49ers wide receiver, running back, sometimes quarterback, and all-around playmaker Deebo Samuel was traded to the Washington Commanders in exchange for a fifth-round pick. Samuel is due for $21 million this year, and he was what they call a Swiss Army knife for the 49ers under head coach Kyle Shanahan. Per NFL research, he is the only wide receiver in NFL history with 20-plus career rush touchdowns and 20-plus career receiving touchdowns. After the 49ers Super Bowl appearance in the 2023 season, Samuel was looking to lead the offense back to the playoffs this year, but they fell short. The 29-year-old played in 15 games in 2024 and had just 51 receptions, his low mark of any season. He recorded just 670 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns, plus 42 rush attempts for 136 yards and just 1 score. Maybe he'll find new life with reigning Rookie of the Year Jaden Daniels and the Commanders' high-scoring offense. Another major NFL receiver will be finding a new home. It was announced on Tuesday that 3 weeks after parting with quarterback Aaron Rodgers, the New York Jets released his favorite wide receiver, Davante Adams. Adams was due a large sum of cash if he were to remain in New York, so this move is not really all that surprising. However, the Jets desperately traded for Adams in Week 7 of the season, so his stay with the Jets was pretty short-lived. In that time, though, Adams came on strong towards the end of the season and finished with 67 catches, 854 yards, and 7 touchdowns in just 11 games for the Jets. So, the veteran can still produce and will have no trouble finding a new team. Many fans and analysts assume Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins would also be finding a new home, but that's not the case. The Cincinnati Bengals have placed the franchise tag on Higgins for a second straight year. A franchise tag isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it isn't great either. The franchise tag is a tool that NFL teams can use to keep their best players from leaving in free agency. If a player is tagged, they receive a 1-year tender. So it basically guarantees the player will have to stay with their current team for at least 1 season, while both sides still work on a long-term contract extension. However, players typically don't like this move, as it means a long-term deal wasn't reached, plus now they can't explore their options in free agency until the next season. Another one of the league's top names that was expected to wear a new uniform, staying put. On Friday, it was announced that Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams had successfully restructured the veteran QB's contract, keeping him in LA. The Super Bowl champion reportedly tested the trade waters, and the Raiders and Giants were rumored to be interested. However, Stafford decided to take less money and stay with the Rams, who most likely give him the best odds at returning to another Super Bowl. The Rams were just 1 play away from defeating the Eagles in the NFC divisional round, and we all know the Eagles went on to win the Super Bowl. To quickly recap a few others, the Seahawks released Tyler Lockett and then DK Metcalf requested a trade. Bengals edge rusher Sam Hubbard retired at the age of just 29. Max Crosby is remaining a Raider. The Chargers released Joey Bosa. Jaguars released Christian Kirk. Raiders released Gardner Minshew. And the Bears acquired Jonah Jackson and Joe Thuney, 2 all-pro offensive linemen to bolster their offense. Lastly, for player news, this story should come as absolutely no surprise. The Philadelphia Eagles have agreed to a 2-year, $41.2 million extension with Saquon Barkley, making him the highest-paid running back in NFL history. The contract for Barkley caps off a historic season in which he led the league with 2,005 rushing yards and 2,283 yards from scrimmage, while tallying 15 touchdowns as arguably the most vital part of the Super Bowl champion Eagles. Barkley's rushing total was the 8th highest in NFL history, and it earned him Offensive Player of the Year honors. So, like I said, no surprise there. The NFL free agency period officially begins next week, so the league is about to get a whole lot weirder. Over on the basketball court, one of the league's top all-time players will miss the remainder of this season. On Tuesday, the already downtrodden Dallas Mavericks announced that Kyrie Irving suffered a season-ending torn ACL in his left knee late in the first quarter of the Mavericks' loss to the Sacramento Kings on Monday. I don't need to reiterate the recent events in Dallas, but I will anyway. Obviously, Luka Doncic was traded to the Lakers in exchange for Anthony Davis. Davis has played just 1 game in a Dallas Mavericks uniform, and it could be the only time he suits up for the organization this year, as he's looking at missing the remainder of the season with an injury. The Irving injury is a devastating blow to the Mavericks season, as he was the team's best overall player and appeared in 50 of their 62 games. Irving made his 9th NBA All-Star team in February, and he's the only NBA player this season averaging at least 20 points, 40% three-point shooting, and 90% from the free throw line. It's the 5th season in his 14-year career in which he has reached or surpassed those averages. All this to say, it appears any hopes at a playoff push have gone out the window for the Mavs. In happier news, Alexander Ovechkin is still inching closer to breaking Wayne Gretzky's all-time record. I gave the background on Ovechkin's quest for greatness last week, but during a 3-1 loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning on Saturday, Ovechkin scored career goal number 884 late in the third period as the Capitals attempted a comeback. The Capitals will host Detroit today at 4 p.m., then Seattle on Sunday. Ovechkin has about 20 games remaining to break the record, and I fully believe he will do it with plenty of time to spare. This weekend, we have some major events to tune into. First, for the PGA, this weekend is the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Arnold Palmer's Bay Hill Club and Lodge in Orlando, Florida. Scottie Scheffler enters this event and an upcoming important run of tournaments, serving as the defending champion not only this week, but also next week at the Players' Championship. Scheffler has won this event twice, and as the world number 1, he now looks to pick up his 3rd win in the last 4 seasons. Scheffler has won 4 times in the state of Florida in the last 3 years and will look to continue his dominance this weekend. Next, UFC 313 will take place this Saturday in Las Vegas. Current light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira seeks his 4th consecutive successful title defense, while up-and-coming challenger Magomed Ankalaev looks to prove himself as the two men square off with the light heavyweight title belt hanging in the balance. 37-year-old title holder Alex Pereira is 9-1 overall, including a perfect 5-0 at the 205-pound level, and has claimed titles in 2 weight classes and posted 6 wins against UFC fighters who have been a UFC champion at some point in their careers. Safe to say, he is one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in recent history. Ankalaev is a 32-year-old fighter from Dagestan. He is unbeaten in his last 13 fights, having won consecutive bouts last year to earn his current spot as the top contender in the division. Many are calling this the best fight card of the year, so if you're a combat sports fan, tune in to this pay-per-view event this Saturday on ESPN+. Lastly, to end the show, one of the all-time sports greats decided to call it a career this week. Jimmy Johnson, the 81-year-old Pro Football Hall of Fame coach who won 2 Super Bowls and a college national championship, announced his retirement from Fox Sports on Monday after being part of its NFL coverage for most of the network's 31 years. Through all his success as a coach, Johnson referred to his time at Fox as, quote, the most fun I ever had in my career, end quote. He worked with hosts Kurt Menefee and Terry Bradshaw, and analysts Howie Long and Michael Strahan on the widely praised Fox NFL Sunday pregame show. His chemistry with his co-hosts and incredible sense of humor added to his extensive football knowledge and made him one of the most enjoyable faces in sports media. Johnson says he is ready to enjoy fishing and drinking beer on his boat in Key West, Florida. Fans from all across the sports world wish him the best in retirement. With all of that said, enjoy all the basketball, hockey, golf, baseball, MMA, and more this weekend. Come right back next Friday for more news, updates, and highlights from all across the sports world. As always, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Sports Corner. I'm Cole Young. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next time.